Please just go. Pretend you didn't see me.
She believed she could vanish from his life completely. Her former husband, Kang Minho, Seoul's most dangerous underworld king. They had once been married. Someone manipulated her into walking away. She obeyed, now carrying his child and working minimum wage. One evening shattered everything because he appeared again. The man who once held her heart. The man who unknowingly destroyed her. Truth struck him hard, and he understood one thing. That baby was his. But before anything could happen, Zara whispered, "Please just go. Pretend you didn't see me." What he's unaware of is that someone coerced her into ending their marriage. What unfolds when Minho discovers the mastermind behind it all? Will he destroy them even knowing it was his own mother? Keep watching to discover the truth. Stay until the final moment for this tale. I guarantee you, your feelings will be all over the place by the time you finish. The restaurants. Crystal fixtures scattered light across polished floors as Kang Minho walked in with expensive perfume and empty promises on his arm. Seoul's most ruthless crime lord had supposedly moved forward, or that's what he convinced himself. Then his world stopped. Zara, his former wife, visibly pregnant, balanced dishes with unsteady hands, her natural radiance faded by weariness and a uniform straining across her rounded middle. Their gazes connected across the busy dining room, and something deep within him broke apart. The woman clinging to his arm became invisible because the only woman who'd ever mattered was waiting tables, and every emotion he thought he'd suppressed came flooding back with crushing force. 6 months earlier, Zara Williams had put her signature on divorce documents with trembling fingers, accepting the deceptions Minho's mother had planted in her mind, that he desired someone more appropriate, that she brought shame to his organization, that his love had been an illusion. She disappeared without mentioning her pregnancy, too devastated to resist, too dignified to plead. Now she endured 16-hour days at Seoul's most expensive restaurant, concealing her expanding stomach beneath loose-fitting uniforms, existing on fragments and determination. The gratuities barely sustained her cramped studio in one of Seoul's roughest districts. She'd liquidated every possession of worth. Jewelry Minho had purchased for her, luxury garments, even her smartphone. She relied on a basic burner phone now with 0 contacts, 0 links to her former existence. Each dawn she awakened with her spine throbbing, her ankles puffy, her spirit still shattered. Each dusk she sobbed herself unconscious, one palm on her swelling abdomen, murmuring apologies to the infant who merited far superior circumstances. Kang Minho had hunted for her. For endless months, he'd ravaged Seoul searching for the wife who'd evaporated like mist. His mother had feigned ignorance, her expression an impeccable facade of worry. His subordinates had discovered nothing. Zara had been excessively cautious, excessively frantic to vanish. He submerged himself in business and women who signified nothing, attempting to erase eyes like obsidian and a smile that had once been his complete universe. But erasure proved impossible. Every woman he encountered wasn't her. Every caress felt incorrect. Every kiss tasted of disloyalty. Not toward them, but toward the recollection of the sole individual who'd ever made him feel genuinely human. This evening was intended to be uncomplicated. Supper with Yuna, a woman his mother endorsed. Someone from the proper background with the proper associations. Yuna was attractive in a frigid, manufactured manner. Tall, slender, flawlessly presented. She spoke endlessly about fundraising events and luxury labels and upper class rumors. Minho scarcely registered her words, his thoughts elsewhere, contemplating the wife who'd abandoned him without clarification. Then reality ceased. Zara appeared from the kitchen balancing a platter heavy with meals, navigating carefully to adjust for her pregnant stomach. She had on the standard black and white server uniform, her natural coils secured back in a severe bun. Her face leaner than his memory. Shadows darkened beneath her eyes. Her actions were measured, labored, but she remained the most stunning sight he'd ever witnessed. Their eyes connected across the space. Hers expanded with alarm and something else. Humiliation, terror, yearning, all combined. His narrowed with astonishment that rapidly transformed into anger and something more profound. Ownership, craving, outrage that she'd been here struggling while he'd been searching everywhere else. She averted her gaze first, pivoting toward a separate area with clear desperation, but he was already rising, his body responding before his consciousness fully registered what he was observing. Kang Minho, where are you going? Yuna's voice dissolved behind him. He didn't respond. He traversed the restaurant in powerful strides, his aura dividing the masses instinctively. Individuals identified him, Seoul's criminal royalty, and granted him room. Murmurs trailed him. Employees froze, but his focus never departed from Zara. She sensed him before she spotted him. That recognizable current that had always sparked between them, that gravitational attraction she'd never managed to deny. She rotated, and he stood there. Near enough that she could detect his fragrance, that costly scent that used to saturate her flesh. Near enough to witness the fury and bewilderment battling in his midnight eyes. Zara. His tone was gravelly, barely restrained, pulsating with feeling. What in hell are you doing here? She elevated her chin, gathering composure she didn't possess. Her grip tightened on the platter. Employed. Step aside, I have customers. His palm extended, seizing her wrist tenderly but securely. The contact transmitted electricity through both of them. You're expecting. Impressive observation. The mockery was her sole protection against the feelings threatening to drown her. How far? His eyes descended to her stomach, then returned to her face. She witnessed him witnessed the instant understanding struck. Zara, how far? 7 months. Now, release me before I forfeit this position, too. Her voice fractured on the final phrase. 7 months. The calculation was immediate. She'd been carrying their child when she departed. His baby. She was bearing his baby and exhausting herself in a restaurant while he'd been fury unlike anything he'd known surged through him. You're leaving with me. He initiated, pulling her toward the door. Absolutely not. She wrenched her arm away, adrenaline superseding fear. The platter swayed precariously. I'm going nowhere with you. You have someone waiting. Return to her. I don't care about her. His voice elevated enough that surrounding patrons twisted to observe. You're my wife. Former wife. We're divorced. Remember? Your mother clarified that thoroughly. Moisture threatened, but she forced it back aggressively. Something lethal flashed in his expression. My mother. What did she do? It's irrelevant now. Zara's voice cracked despite her efforts. Please just go. Pretend you didn't see me. It's what you desired anyway. Pretend. He released a harsh, fractured sound. You're carrying my child and you expect me to pretend? Where have you been? Do you comprehend what I pardon me? The restaurant supervisor materialized, his expression rigid but anxious. He identified Minho, understood his reputation. You're creating a disturbance. Miss Williams, resume your duties. Sir, please return to your seat. Minho turned to the supervisor with an expression that made the man retreat instinctively. She's finished working here. Immediately. You cannot. Zara initiated, alarm rising. She required this employment. Required the income. Observe me. He extracted his phone, placed one call. His voice was icy, authoritative. Acquire this restaurant immediately. I desire ownership transferred within 60 minutes. I'm unconcerned about the expense. He disconnected, then addressed the supervisor again. You're terminated for forcing an expecting woman to labor on her feet for 16 hours, for compensating her poverty wages, for neglecting to guarantee she received adequate breaks or sustenance. The supervisor blanched. You cannot simply I control half of Seoul. I can execute whatever I desire. Minho's attention returned to Zara. His hand discovered her lower spine, possessive and protective. We're departing now. I require this employment. I require the funds for the infant. You require nothing. I'll furnish everything. His voice mellowed slightly. Don't resist me. On this, Zara. You won't prevail, and you shouldn't have to battle anymore. She desired to dispute to preserve her autonomy to demonstrate she didn't need him. But exhaustion and pregnancy hormones and the overwhelming presence of the man she'd never ceased loving made her defenses disintegrate. Her feet ached. Her back throbbed. She was so fatigued from struggling alone, she permitted him to guide her out, past the gawking diners, past Yuna's stunned and livid expression into the frigid Seoul night. His hand never abandoned her. Spine, supporting her, claiming her. His vehicle materialized within seconds, a black Mercedes with darkened windows. He assisted her inside with unexpected tenderness, his hands cautious on her arms, then climbed in beside her. The interior smelled of leather and him. Recollections flooded back. Of other journeys, of his hand on her thigh, of stolen kisses at traffic lights. "Where are we traveling?" she inquired, her voice diminished. "Home." He examined her face like he was committing it to memory again. "To our home. We don't possess a home. Not presently. We never ceased possessing a home. You departed. I didn't." His jaw clenched. "Why, Zara? Why did you depart without informing me you were expecting? Why did you disappear like I signified nothing?" She stared at her hands at the wedding band she'd liquidated months earlier to cover rent. "Because your mother informed me you desired me gone, that I was an embarrassment, that you'd progressed. And you accepted her word after everything we were to each other? She possessed divorce documents with your signature." Zara's voice fractured. She stated, "You were excessively compassionate to inform me yourself, but that you desired someone suitable, someone Korean, someone who belonged in your world, and I examined our existence and recognized she was accurate. I never belonged. I was merely deceiving myself." Minho was silent for an extended moment. When he vocalized, his voice trembled with controlled outrage. "I never signed divorce documents. I refused. My mother falsified my signature." Zara's head jerked up. "What?" "I refused to divorce you. I informed her I'd never release you, that she could intimidate me however she desired. But you were my wife, and that was permanent." His hands compressed into fists. "She falsified my signature, submitted the documents without my awareness. When I discovered, it was too late. You were already absent." The implications crashed over Zara like tidal waves. "She deceived both of us. She deceived both of us," he verified, fury simmering beneath his controlled exterior. "And she will suffer for it." But first, his eyes descended to her stomach. Again, and his expression softened impossibly. "First, we address us, address our infant." The journey to his penthouse was tense and wordless. Zara stared through the window, attempting to process everything. 7 months of anguish, of accepting she was unwanted, of struggling isolated, all founded on falsehoods. Minho kept stealing glimpses at her stomach, his hands clenched on his thighs like he was physically restraining himself from extending outward. When they arrived, the building's concierge looked astonished to witness her. "Mrs. Kang, welcome back. We've missed your presence." So, he'd never informed anyone about the divorce. Intriguing. Or perhaps the divorce had never been legitimate at all. The penthouse was precisely as she remembered. Frigid, contemporary, costly. Floor-to-ceiling windows surveyed Seoul's illuminated skyline, marble surfaces, luxury furnishings, artwork that cost more than most individuals earned annually. But something was altered. Her possessions were still present. Photographs of them together still decorated the shelves. Their wedding ceremony, holidays they'd experienced, spontaneous instances of happiness. Her preferred books rested on the coffee table precisely where she'd abandoned them. Her art materials were arranged neatly in the corner. It was like he'd preserved the apartment frozen in time, maintaining their marriage like a memorial display. "You retained everything," she stated quietly, emotion constricting her throat. "Naturally, I retained everything. You're my wife." He removed his jacket, loosened his tie with sharp, angry movements. "Be seated. You appear exhausted. I'm acceptable. Be seated." Command threaded through the phrases. The voice he utilized to govern an empire. She sat, despising how her body complied automatically, how her aching feet appreciated the relief. Pregnancy had depleted her usual spirit, left her vulnerable in ways she resented. Minho disappeared into the kitchen, returning with water, fruit, crackers, and cheese. He positioned them on the table before her. "Consume. When was the last occasion you had an adequate meal?" "This dawn. Don't fabricate to me." His eyes secured her. "I know you, Zara. I know when you're fabricating. When was the last occasion you actually consumed enough?" She accepted the water, sipping it gradually, her stomach contracted with hunger she'd been disregarding. 2 days prior, perhaps 3. His expression darkened dangerously. "You've been starving yourself? Starving my child?" "I haven't been starving anyone. I can barely manage food and rent. The gratuities at the restaurant weren't sufficient, and the compensation was garbage. I was executing the best I could. She halted, not desiring to reveal how desperate circumstances had become. The nights she'd slept hungry so the infant would be acceptable. The occasions she'd contemplated contacting him, but pride had prevented her. And you didn't call me. Didn't inform me you were struggling. He crouched before her, his eyes level with hers. Why? After everything we were to each other, why would you suffer isolated rather than reach out? Because your mother informed me you desired the divorce. She stated you were embarrassed by me, that I wasn't suitable for your world, that you'd already progressed with someone from an appropriate Korean background. The phrases erupted from her, 7 months of agony and anger behind them. She possessed documents, Minho, legal papers with your signature. She compensated me funds to depart quietly. She informed me if I genuinely loved you, I'd release you so you could possess the existence you merited. And I accepted her because deep within I always knew I didn't belong in your world. I was merely a girl from nowhere, who got fortunate enough to capture your attention temporarily. Minho went absolutely still, his eyes darkening with a rage she'd rarely witnessed. My mother informed you that? Yes. She stated you were excessively polite to vocalize it yourself, so she was executing it for you. She displayed photographs of you with other women, society women, suitable women. She stated you'd been encountering them, arranging your future with them. Fresh tears spilled down Zara's cheeks. And I accepted her because I'd always felt like an imposter in your existence, like eventually you'd awaken and recognize you'd made an error with me. No. His hands framed her face, forcing her to regard him. No, you were never an error. You were never merely anything. You were everything. You are everything. His voice fractured. I never desired a divorce. I arrived home one day and you were absent. No note, no clarification, nothing. Just absent. Your garments, your art materials, your books, everything. Like you'd never existed. And my mother claimed she possessed no idea where you traveled. She wept, stated she'd attempted to prevent you, but you'd insisted on departing. She deceived both of us. The realization settled over Zara like frozen water, making everything clear and terrible. She deceived both of us, he verified, rage simmering beneath his controlled exterior. She manipulated us both. Obliterated our marriage because she didn't consider you suitable. Because she's a classist, prejudiced woman who cares more about appearances than her son's happiness. His thumbs brushed away her tears, and she will compensate for it. But first, he transferred his hands to her stomach, touching the swell of their child with reverent wonder. First, we address us, address our infant who's been developing while we've been separated. The infant kicked at his contact, and his eyes expanded with astonishment and wonder. Was that the infant? They kick frequently. Despite everything, Zara smiled at his expression. Especially at night when I'm attempting to sleep. He regarded her, his eyes shining. Do you know what we're having? I didn't desire to discover isolated. The admission cost her, revealing how intensely she desired to share this with him. How many ultrasounds had she attended solitary? Weeping in parking areas afterwards because she was so isolated. His expression cracked completely, emotion flooding through. I missed 7 months. 7 months of your pregnancy. Our child developing of you requiring me and me not being present. His forehead descended to her stomach and she felt him trembling. I'm sorry, God. Zara, I'm so sorry. I should have discovered you sooner. Should have searched harder. Should have known my mother was fabricating. She desired to remain angry, desired to protect herself from the inevitable agony of loving him and losing him again. But witnessing him fractured like this, feeling his hands tenderly on her abdomen, hearing the raw emotion in his voice, she felt her walls crumbling brick by brick. It's not your fault, she whispered, her fingers discovering his hair. We were both manipulated, both deceived. It is my fault. I should have questioned everything. Should have torn Seoul apart until I discovered you. Should have known you'd never abandon me without a compelling reason. He regarded her, his eyes fierce and wet. But you're here now. You're home. And I'm never releasing you again. Do you comprehend? Never. I'm unconcerned what I have to execute, who I have to combat, what I have to obliterate. You're mine and you're remaining mine. The possessiveness should have frightened her. Instead, it made her feel cherished, desired, and protected. That's extremely presumptuous. It's a commitment. He stood, pulling her up with him, his hands cautious on her arms. You're exhausted. You require rest, consume properly, care for yourself and our infant. So, here's what's transpiring. You're going to shower, put on comfortable garments, and sleep in our bed. I'm going to order sustenance, real sustenance, nutritious sustenance. And tomorrow, we're visiting the best OB in Seoul to ensure you and the infant are healthy. Minho. This isn't negotiable, Zara. You've been suffering for 7 months. That concludes now. His voice softened. Please permit me to care for you. Permit me to be what I should have been throughout. She was excessively fatigued to dispute, excessively emotionally overwhelmed, excessively desperate for the comfort and safety he was offering. She nodded and relief flooded his features. The following dawn, Zara awakened in a bed that smelled like miho, sandalwood, and something uniquely his. She was isolated, wearing one of his soft t-shirts that stretched across her pregnant stomach, her filthy uniform absent. Recollections of the previous night flooded back. How he'd insisted she shower, had stood outside the bathroom like he was afraid she'd disappear. How he'd brought her sustenance and observed her consume every bite, his eyes never departing her face. How he'd reclined beside her in bed, his hand on her stomach, speaking softly to their child about how sorry he was for missing so much time. How he'd held her when she wept when 7 months of agony and solitude came pouring out. She discovered him in his office on the phone, his voice frigid and lethal. I'm unconcerned what excuse you possess, mother. You fabricated to me. You transmitted my wife away pregnant and permitted me to accept she'd abandoned me. You made her suffer. You made her labor herself to exhaustion while carrying my child. You manipulated both of us because of your prejudice. A pause. His mother's voice came through the speaker, shrill and defensive, making excuses in Korean. No, you don't get to clarify. You don't get to justify. You're terminated. All access to my accounts, all positions in my companies, all influence in my existence absent. Effective immediately, his voice was ice. You desired me to marry someone suitable. Congratulations. I'm already married to the sole woman I've ever loved, the sole woman I will ever love. And you will never witness your grandchildren. You will never know them, never hold them, never be part of their existence. You made that selection when you obliterated my marriage. His mother's voice elevated, pleading now, but Minho terminated her. If you ever contact Zara again, if you ever approach my family, I will forget you're my mother. I will treat you like any other adversary, and you know what I execute to my adversaries. He disconnected, then noticed Zara in the doorway. You didn't have to execute that, she stated softly, though part of her was fiercely glad he had. Yes, I did. She nearly obliterated us. She made you suffer for 7 months. She made me search desperately for my wife while fabricating to my face about knowing nothing. He stood crossing to her. She selected appearances over our happiness. Now she exists with the consequences. She's still your mother. And you're still my wife, my priority always. His hands discovered her waist. How do you feel? Did you sleep superior to I have in months? She touched her stomach self-consciously. The infant's been quiet this dawn. Usually, they're kicking by now. Concern flashed across his face. Is that normal? Should we call the doctor? I think they're just comfortable. Quality bed, reduced stress. She smiled at his worry. But we should probably visit a doctor soon anyway. Ensure everything's acceptable. We're traveling today. I already made an appointment. At her surprised regard, he shrugged. I called the best OB in Seoul at 6 o'clock this dawn. We possess an appointment at 10 o'clock. It's not even 8 yet. I desired to be certain we got in. He pulled her closer, cautious of her stomach. Zara, we require to discuss us. About what transpires now. What's there to discuss? You stated the divorce was never legitimate. It wasn't. I refused to sign, which signifies legally you're still my wife. His smile was predatory, possessive. You're still mine, Zara. You never cease being mine. The possessiveness should have annoyed her. Instead, it transmitted heat through her body, reminding her of all the reasons she'd fallen for him initially. That's extremely presumptuous. It's the truth. And here's another truth. I love you. I never cease loving you, and I'm going to spend every day proving it to you until you accept me again. I never ceased loving you either, she admitted, the phrases spilling out before she could prevent them. Even when I thought you'd rejected me, even when I was angry and hurt and isolated, I couldn't cease. I attempted, but I couldn't. His kiss was tender despite the intensity in his eyes, mindful of her pregnant stomach between them. Then remain. Permit me to care for you. Permit me to be the husband and father I should have been throughout. Before she could respond, his phone rang. He responded with visible irritation. What? His expression changed, darkening dangerously. Where is she now? A pause. Retain her there. I'm coming. He disconnected, already reaching for his jacket. What's incorrect? Zara inquired, fear spiking. Yuna, the woman from last evening. She's been conversing with reporters, spreading fabrications about you, about us, attempting to damage my reputation and yours. His jaw clenched, claiming you're some con artist who trapped me with a fake pregnancy that you're attempting to extort funds from me. What? But I know it's all fabrications, but rumors spread rapidly in this city. I require to address this before it deteriorates. He cooped her face. Remain here. Rest. Consume. I'll return soon and then we'll travel to your doctor's appointment together. Miho, be cautious. Always. He kissed her forehead. And Zara, initiate thinking about names. We possess an infant to plan for. Later that afternoon, Zara explored the penthouse properly, attempting to process her new reality. Evidence of Miho's desperate search for her was everywhere. In his office, she discovered maps of Seoul marked with locations he'd searched, phone records displaying hundreds of calls to anyone who might have witnessed her, private investigator reports, even CCTV footage from areas she'd been known to frequent. He dedicated an entire wall to discovering her, displaying her photographs, timelines, and notes, tracking every lead in his handwriting. He hadn't fabricated. He'd searched for her desperately, obsessively. She discovered her old sketchbooks in a drawer, art materials he must have retained. Before their marriage collapsed, she'd been studying design at university, dreaming of possessing her own boutique someday. She'd relinquished those dreams when his mother had convinced her she wasn't adequate, that she should concentrate on being a suitable wife instead. You retain these, too, she murmured, flipping through drawings of dresses and patterns, designs she'd abandoned. I retained everything. Miho's voice came from the doorway, making her jump. I informed you I never relinquished on us. She rotated. He appeared fatigued, but satisfied, tension in his shoulders, easing slightly. How did it transpire with Yuna? She's been addressed. The stories won't circulate. She signed an NDA and accepted a settlement to remain quiet about everything, including what she witnessed last evening. His expression darkened. She also won't be laboring in Seoul anymore. I placed some calls. You ruined her career. She attempted to hurt you, to spread fabrications about you and our child. There are consequences for that. He crossed to her, his hands discovering her waist possessively. I know I can be controlling. I know my world is dangerous and complicated, but I will always protect you, even from gossip and fabrications. I know. She touched his face, feeling the tension there. You appear exhausted. I haven't slept properly in 7 months. Not since you departed. His eyes searched hers. I kept thinking you'd return, that you'd recognize whatever was incorrect, we could repair it together. But you never returned. And every day that passed, I perished a little more internally. I thought you didn't desire me anymore. That I was an embarrassment. Impossible. You could never embarrass me. You made me superior. Made me desire to be superior. He pulled her closer, mindful of her stomach between them. I'll desire you until I take my final breath. Probably even after that. The kiss initiated soft, but rapidly deepened. 7 months of longing and separation fueling the heat between them. His hands tangled in her hair, and she gripped his shoulders, remembering every reason she'd fallen for him. How safe he made her feel, how cherished, how desperately loved. We should halt, she gasped when they separated, breathless. The infant is perfectly safe. His lips discovered her neck, that spot that always made her melt. I researched extensively. As long as you're comfortable, it's acceptable. Naturally, you researched. She laughed, then gasped as his mouth discovered a sensitive spot. Miho, I've missed you. His voice was rough against her flesh, vibrating with need. God, Zara, I've missed you so intensely. Every night isolated was torture. Every woman who wasn't you felt incorrect. I couldn't, his voice fractured. I couldn't cease loving you. She pulled him toward the bedroom. 7 months of solitude and fear dissolving under his contact. They moved together with familiar passion, his hands reverent on her changed body, his eyes full of wonder and love as he traced the curves of her pregnant stomach. He was tender, cautious, constantly checking that she was comfortable, that nothing hurt. You're stunning, he whispered, his hands spanning her stomach. More stunning than ever, carrying our child. God, Zara, you're perfect. Afterwards, she reclined in his arms, feeling safer than she had in 7 months. His hand rested on her stomach, feeling their infant kick, and she covered it with hers. I was so scared, she admitted quietly. When I discovered I was expecting, I didn't know how I'd manage isolated. Didn't know if I could provide the infant everything they merited. You'll never be isolated again. He kissed her temple, the commitment fierce. I swear to you, whatever transpires, whatever comes, we confront it together. You, me, and our infant. Family. Family, she repeated, the phrase tasting like hope. A few days later, Zara awakened to an empty bed and immediate alarm. Morning sickness struck hard, and she barely made it to the bathroom. When she emerged, pale and trembling, Minho was there with water, crackers, and ginger tea. I heard you. He stated simply, his hands supporting her spine. This transpires every dawn. Most dawns. It's been superior lately, but stress probably triggered it. She accepted the crackers gratefully, nibbling cautiously. We're visiting my doctor today. The best OB in Seoul. I desire to ensure you and the infant are completely healthy. I can't manage. You're on my insurance. You have been this entire time. I never removed you. His tone left no room for argument. And even if you weren't, I'd compensate for everything. You're my wife, Zara. My responsibility, my everything. Cease attempting to address things isolated. The doctor's appointment was overwhelming in the optimal manner. The clinic was luxurious, private, with staff who treated her like royalty instead of the charity case she'd become. Minho held her hand through the examination, his eyes glued to the ultrasound screen when their infant appeared. Everything appears very quality, the doctor stated in English for Zara's benefit. Infant is healthy. Appropriate size for gestational age, strong heartbeat. Mother requires superior nutrition and rest, but overall everything's progressing well. You're fortunate. 7 months of inadequate care could have caused serious complications. Zara felt guilt crash over her, but Minho squeezed her hand. She executed the optimal she could with what she possessed. Now she possesses everything she requires. The doctor smiled. Would you like to know the gender? Zara regarded Minho. He regarded her, his eyes soft. Together, he inquired. Quietly. Together, she verified, her heart racing. It's a boy, the doctor announced with a warm smile. A healthy baby boy. Minho's expression transformed. Wonder, joy, fierce protectiveness, all crossing his features at once. A son. His voice was thick with emotion, barely controlled. Zara discovered herself weeping, overwhelmed by witnessing him like this, by the reality of their son becoming legitimate. He pulled her close, pressing. Kisses to her face, her hair, her lips, his own tears mixing with hers. A son, he repeated, his voice fracturing. Our son, our little boy. I'm going to teach him everything. How to be strong, how to be honorable, how to protect the people he loves. And gentle, Zara interjected through tears and laughter. Teach him to be gentle, too. Like his father is with me. He regarded the ultrasound image the doctor handed them. His expression one of complete awe. He's perfect, just like his mother. In the vehicle afterwards, he couldn't cease regarding the ultrasound photographs. We require to initiate preparing. Nursery, garments, materials. I desire everything prepared before he arrives. We possess 2 months, Zara stated, amused by his intensity. Not sufficient time. We require to plan. He was already making lists on his phone. Crib, changing table, garments, diapers, monitors. What colors do you desire for the nursery? I don't know. Perhaps something neutral. Blues and grays. Whatever you desire. Though I reserve the right to purchase him toy cars and sports equipment, he glanced at her, his expression softening. Gratitude for what? For carrying our son. For surviving 7 months isolated. For being strong enough to retain progressing even when you thought I didn't desire you. His hand discovered hers. For still loving me despite everything. Always, she whispered. I couldn't cease if I attempted. That evening, Minho threw himself into preparation mode with the intensity he brought to everything. He researched cribs, car seats, and infant monitors, reading reviews, and comparing products like he was negotiating a business deal. Zara observed him with amusement and affection, witnessing the man behind the crime boss facade. You're being obsessive, she stated as he displayed her paint samples for the nursery. Dozens of them. I'm being thorough. I've missed 7 months. I possess catching up to execute. He pulled her onto his lap cautiously, mindful of her stomach. Indulge me. Permit me to execute this. Permit me to be the father I should have been from the beginning. Acceptable, but nothing excessively boyish. I desire him to be balanced, not spoiled. He can be both. He kissed her neck, his hands spanning her stomach, like his mother, stunning and strong and absolutely impossible to forget. The tenderness in his voice made her heart ache. She rotated in his arms, confronting him. I'm sorry I didn't inform you about the pregnancy. I should have battled harder, questioned your mother more, and demanded to converse with you directly. I was just so hurt and scared. Cease. Cease. Apologizing for what she executed to us. His hands framed her face. You executed what you thought was correct. What you thought I desired. She manipulated you. Manipulated both of us. That's on her, not you. But you missed. I know what I missed. And I'm angry about it. Furious. But not at you. Never at you. He kissed her softly. We concentrate forward now on our family, on our future, on providing our son everything he merits, including a father who's present, especially that. His eyes held hers. I'm transitioning out of the darker side of my business, moving everything legitimate. It'll take time, but I'm executing it for you, for him, for us. I desire to be a father he can be proud of. A week later, Zara was settling into her new old existence with surprising ease. Minho labored from home most days, unwilling to depart her isolated for long. He'd hired a nutritionist who created meal plans specifically for her pregnancy requirements, a personal trainer who specializes in pregnancy-safe exercises. He'd initiated converting a spare room into a nursery, involving her in every decision, even as he obsessively researched every product. But his world wasn't without its dangers. She was reminded of that when he arrived home one evening. With blood on his shirt and a laceration above his eye, his knuckles split and swollen. What transpired? She rushed to him, fear spiking through her chest, her hand instinctively traveling to her stomach. Rival organization. They placed a move on one of my territories. Attempted to take advantage while they thought I was distracted. He attempted to move past her, but she obstructed his path. Her pregnant stomach making her stance both fierce and vulnerable. You're hurt. It's nothing. It's not nothing. Be seated. She pushed him toward the couch with surprising strength, then obtained the first aid kit. Her hands trembled as she cleaned the laceration above his eye. Each drop of blood a reminder of the dangerous world he occupied. This is the existence you lead. Violence and danger. Yes. He caught her hands, stilling their trembling. And I comprehend if that frightens you, but I'm transitioning out, moving toward legitimate business. It will take time, perhaps a year, perhaps 2, but I'm executing it for you, for our son. I don't desire you to alter who you are for me. I'm not altering who I am. I'm becoming who I desire to be. His eyes held hers. A man my son can be proud of. A husband who arrives home safely every evening. A father who's present for every moment, not missing anything because I'm deceased or in prison. She kissed him. Tasting blood and commitment and fear. Just don't get killed before our son is born. He requires his father. I require him too. And I require you. His hand discovered her stomach, feeling their son kick as if responding to his voice. You're my world now, both of you. Everything else is just noise. I'll be cautious. I commit. The following week, Minho surprised her with a journey to an empty commercial space in one of Seoul's trendiest districts, floor-to-ceiling windows, exposed brick, perfect lighting. Zara stared. In confusion. What is this location? Your design studio? Your boutique? He wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands resting on her stomach. I desire you to restart your business, your dream. Whatever you require, space, materials, funding, staff, it's yours. Zara felt tears prick her eyes. This is excessive. It's not sufficient. You relinquished your dreams because of my mother's poison. Because she convinced you that you weren't adequate, that your sole value was as my wife. His voice hardened with anger at his mother. Now you obtain them back. Our son should know his mother is talented and successful, not just someone who exists in my shadow. I don't exist in your shadow. I know. But I desire the world to know it too. I desire him to mature witnessing you build something remarkable. To know that women, especially women who resemble you, can create empires. He kissed her temple. State yes. Permit me to provide you this. How could she state no when he regarded her like she was everything? Yes, gratitude. But I'm executing this my manner with my vision. Not because I'm your wife, but because I'm talented. His smile was proud, fierce. I wouldn't possess it any other manner. He hired a team to assist her. Experienced designers, skilled seamstresses, business supervisors who comprehended the fashion industry. Within 2 weeks, her vision was taking shape. She designed maternity wear that was actually stylish, plus-size fashion for women who'd been ignored by the industry. Garments that celebrated curves and diversity rather than concealing them. The labor exhausted her, but it also fulfilled her in manners she'd forgotten were possible. Minho observed her bloom with quiet satisfaction, supporting her dreams while protecting her fiercely. He'd arrive at the studio with lunch, insisting she consume. He'd massage her swollen feet while she sketched. He'd listen to her concepts and offer surprisingly quality business advice. Your quality at this, she stated one evening as they reviewed her business plan. I've built an empire. The principles are the same, just with reduced violence and more fabric. His smile was teasing, though the fashion industry might be more cutthroat than organized crime. She laughed, the sound filling their home with warmth. Existence was settling into something stunning. But in his world, peace never lasted long. 2 months before her due date, everything collapsed. Zara was at her boutique reviewing fabric samples with her team. When 3 men entered, she identified the danger immediately. The frigid eyes, the concealed weapons, the predatory manner. They moved. Her assistant witnessed it, too, and reached for the panic button. But they were faster. Mrs. Kang, the leader stated in heavily accented English. You're traveling with us. No, she retreated toward the panic button Minho had insisted on installing in multiple locations. One of the men moved with frightening speed, seizing her arm roughly. She screamed and her assistant rushed for assistance, but they were dragging her toward a van outside. Pedestrians halted and stared, but no one intervened. Seoul might be contemporary, but individuals knew not to interfere with organized crime. Your husband acquired something from us. Now we acquire something from him. The leader's smile was cruel, calculated. Witness how he appreciates losing what matters most. They bundled her into the van, and terror overwhelmed rational thought. Not for herself, but for her son. She was 8 months expecting. Any stress could trigger early labor. Any violence could harm the infant. The journey was a blur of fear and desperate planning. They transported her to a warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul, one of the abandoned industrial areas that dotted the city's edges. Inside, it smelled of rust and mold and desperation. They secured her to a metal chair as much as they could, with her pregnant stomach making it difficult. Placed threats about what they'd execute to her infant if Minho didn't comply with their demands. She attempted to remain calm, attempted to breathe through the alarm, but fear clawed at her throat. Her infant was kicking frantically, sensing his mother's distress. She concentrated on that, on the existence inside her, on providing her son's strength. Please, she pleaded, her voice steadier than she felt. I'm 8 months expecting. Whatever my husband executed, take it up with him. Depart me out of it. You're his weakness. We hurt you. We hurt him. Simple business. The leader's phone rang. He responded, then smiled frigidly. Your husband desires to converse with you. Execute it quality. Convince him to cooperate or circumstances get very detrimental for you and that infant. He held the phone to her ear roughly. Minho's voice came through, barely controlled fury beneath desperate fear. Zara, are you hurt? Did they contact you? I'm acceptable. The infant's acceptable. Minho, don't provide them what they desire. I'm not worth, don't you dare. His voice cracked raw with emotion. Don't you dare inform me you're not worth everything. Don't inform me to select anything over you and our son. I'm coming for you. I will burn this city too. Ash to discover you. Hold on. Just hold on for me. They yanked the phone away. Zara heard Minho shouting her name. Heard the desperation in his voice before the call concluded. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes. Time lost significance in her terror. Her captors disputed in Korean, and she caught sufficient phrases to comprehend they were debating whether to kill her now, hurt her to transmit a message, or wait for Minho to arrive and kill them both. She prayed to any god who might be listening. She prayed for her sons' safety, for Minho to discover them in time, for one more chance to inform him she loved him. Then gunfire erupted outside, shouting in Korean. More gunfire, so much it sounded like a war zone. The warehouse walls trembled with the violence. The warehouse door exploded inward with a deafening crash. Through the smoke and chaos, Zara witnessed him. Minho moved like death incarnate, like every nightmare his adversaries ever possessed come to existence. His men flanked him in perfect formation, but he was at the front, taking the most risk. His eyes scanning desperately until they discovered her. When their gazes locked, she witnessed relief and fury and love so intense it acquired her breath away. He eliminated anyone between him and her with brutal efficiency. No wasted movements, no mercy. When he reached her, blood spattered his face and garments, none of it his. His hands trembled as he severed her bonds, checking her frantically for injuries. Are you hurt? Did they contact you? The infant? God. Zara, the infant. We're acceptable. Minho, we're acceptable. She collapsed against him, and he lifted her into his arms despite the ongoing combat around them, shielding her body with his. His men provided cover as he transported her to an armored SUV, waiting outside. Once inside, he executed his hands over her stomach with desperate tenderness, feeling for their son. The infant kicked strongly against his palm and relief fractured across his face. He's still moving. That's quality, correct? That signifies he's acceptable. I think so. But we should travel to the hospital. Zara's voice trembled despite her attempts to remain calm. I'm possessing contractions. Small ones, but his face went white. You're in labor? I don't know. Perhaps just stress, but we should check. She gripped his hand as another contraction struck. Minho, I'm scared. I've obtained you. Both of you. I commit. He barked orders to his driver, then pulled her close, his hands tender on her stomach. You're safe now. No one will ever contact you again. I'll ensure of it. At the hospital, doctors examined her thoroughly while Minho hovered, refusing to depart her side. The contractions were Braxton Hicks, brought on by extreme stress, but not active labor. The infant was acceptable, heart rate strong, movements quality. Zara was shaken, but physically unharmed. You require rest, the doctor stated firmly. No stress, no labor. Just rest and prepare for the infant. You're extremely fortunate. This could have concluded much worse. When they were finally isolated in her private hospital room, Minho fractured. He descended to his knees beside her bed, his head in her lap, his shoulders trembling with emotion he'd been retaining back. I almost lost you, both of you. Because of my world, my adversaries, my selections. His voice was raw, fractured. Perhaps you'd be safer without me. Perhaps I should release you. Provide you the peaceful existence you merit. Don't. She executed her fingers through his hair, feeling him tremble. Don't you dare complete that sentence. I'm not departing you. We're not departing you. You should for your safety, for his. No, we're stronger together. And you're departing that world anyway, remember? Progressing legitimate. She made him regard her, witnessing the fear and guilt in his eyes. I selected you, Kang Minho, with all your baggage and danger and darkness. I selected you, and I'm not unselecting you now. I don't merit you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. She smiled through tears. We're a team. You, me, and this little boy who's going to possess both of us wrapped around his tiny finger. He kissed her stomach with reverent tenderness. Then her, pouring months of fear and love into it. I'm going to marry you again, an appropriate wedding this time. And I'm going to spend every day for the rest of my existence proving I'm worthy of you. You already executed that. Now you just have to be here. Be present. Be ours. I can execute that. He climbed onto the hospital bed beside her, cautiously, pulling her against his chest. I can definitely execute that. The following dawn, Zara awakened to discover Minho on the phone. His voice frigid and absolute. All of them. I desire every single individual involved. Discover them. Bring them to me. And ensure they comprehend what transpires to individuals who contact my family. Minho. He concluded the call, his expression softening when he witnessed her awake. How do you feel? Fatigued, sore, but acceptable. She touched his face. What are you planning? Justice, protection, ensuring this never transpires again. His eyes hardened. They acquired you. Threatened our son. There are consequences for that. Don't execute anything that will take you away from us. I require you here. Not in prison or deceased. I'll be cautious, but I won't release this unpunished. He kissed her forehead. Trust me to address this my manner. She did, and that terrified her as much as it comforted her. A month later, Zara awakened to wetness and cramping at 3 o'clock in the dawn. Minho. Minho, awaken. I think my water just fractured. He was out of bed instantly, throwing on garments, seizing the hospital bag he'd retained packed and prepared for weeks. Acceptable. Acceptable. We practice this breathing. We require to breathe. Or is that later? Should we time contractions first? You're panicking. I'm not panicking. He was absolutely panicking, his hands trembling as he assisted her alter garments. I'm just here in labor. Our son is coming. Oh, God. I'm going to be a father. Despite the agony building in her abdomen, Zara laughed. Yes, you are. Now, can we please travel to the hospital before I possess this infant in the vehicle? The journey was a blur of contractions and Minho's increasingly frantic reassurances, directed more at himself than her. Once at the hospital, he transformed into concentrated determination, refusing to depart her side, holding her hand through every contraction, whispering encouragement in Korean and English. Labor was extended and brutal. 18 hours of agony and exhaustion and questioning every decision that led to this moment. But every time Zara desired to relinquish, Minho was there. His strength anchoring her, his love sustaining her, his voice reminding her she was strong enough. You can execute. This, he whispered during a particularly brutal contraction. You survived 7 months isolated. You survived my mother's fabrications. You survived being kidnapped. You can survive this. You're the strongest individual I know. When their son finally emerged at 9:43 in the dawn, screaming indignantly at the bright lights and frigid air, Minho wept openly. The nurses positioned the infant on Zara's chest, and both parents stared in wonder at the tiny existence they'd created. He's perfect, Minho breathed, his voice thick with emotion. Absolutely perfect. He possesses your eyes, Zara stated, exhausted but elated, tracing her son's tiny features. Regard those eyes. He's going to be trouble. Their son, small, wrinkled, perfect, regarded up at his parents with dark eyes that were definitely his father's. He possessed Zara's rich skin tone and Minho's delicate features, a perfect blend of both their heritages, a bridge between their worlds. What should we name him? Zara inquired, cradling their son against her chest. Minho had researched extensively as he executed everything. Elijah, it signifies the Lord as my God. It's strong, works in both our cultures. And for his Korean name, Jaesung meaning accomplished and successful. Elijah Jaesung Kang, Zara repeated, regarding down at their son. It's perfect. He's perfect. Minho sat on the edge of the bed, his arms around both his treasures, his expression one of complete awe and overwhelming love. I can't accept he's legitimate, that he's ours, that we created something this stunning. Accept it. You're a father now. Zara smiled at him, witnessing the wonder in his eyes. How does it feel? Terrifying. Remarkable. Like my heart is walking around outside my body. He touched Elijah's tiny hand, and he gripped his finger instinctively with surprising strength. I'm going to protect you both from everything. I commit you that nothing will ever hurt either of you again. The first weeks home were exhausting and stunning and overwhelming. Minho. threw himself into fatherhood with the same intensity he'd brought to everything else in his existence. He awakened for every feeding, learned to alter diapers without complaint, paced the floors at 3 o'clock in the dawn when Elijah wept, and sang to him in Korean when he wouldn't settle. Zara observed him transform from crime boss to devoted father, marveling at how natural he was with their son. He was tender and patient in manners she'd never imagined. His large hands cautious with Elijah's tiny body, his voice soft as he informed him stories and placed commitments about the world he'd build for him. "You're spoiling him already," Zara stated one night, observing him rock Elijah at 3 o'clock in the dawn while Zara should have been resting. "He's 6 weeks old. He requires to be spoiled. He requires to know he's loved and desired and the center of our universe." He kissed the infant's head tenderly. "Besides, he possesses me completely wrapped around his finger, just like his mother." "I don't possess you." "Wrapped around my finger." "Yes, you execute. You possess since the moment we encountered." He smiled at her over their son's head. "I was finished for the second I witnessed you, and I've never recovered. Don't desire to recover." The boutique was thriving, even in Zara's absence. She'd hired excellent supervisors to address day-to-day operations, and they video-called her with decisions and updates. She balanced new motherhood with her business dreams, proving she could be both mother and entrepreneur. Minho had executed quality on his commitment. His operations were progressing legitimate. The violence had decreased dramatically as he transitioned to legal enterprises, real estate, technology, investments, international trade. He still possessed adversaries, required security, but the daily danger was fading. Existence was settling into something stunning, something normal, or as normal as existence could be for a former crime boss and his wife. 3 months after Elijah's birth, Minho surprised Zara with a romantic dinner at home. Candles everywhere, her preferred sustenance prepared by a private chef, soft music playing. Their son slept peacefully in a bassinet nearby, observed by security. Minho no longer pretended they didn't require. "What's this about?" Zara inquired, stunning in a dress he'd purchased her. Her post-pregnancy curves driving him crazy with desire and love. "This is about us, about our family, about celebrating everything we survived to arrive here." He acquired her hand across the table, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "We never possessed an appropriate courtship. I never obtained to date you, court you, display you romance, display you how intensely you signify to me. You married me, obtained me expecting, battled your whole family for me, literally traveled to war to rescue me." She smiled. "I think I know how intensely I signify to you. Still, I desire to execute this correctly." He stood pulling a box from his pocket. Inside was a new ring, not replacing the ones he'd provided her before, but complementing them. A stunning diamond surrounded by sapphires that matched her eyes. "Zara Williams. Love of my existence, mother of my child, salvation of my soul. Will you remain married to me? Will you retain selecting me even knowing all my flaws and darkness? Will you build this existence with me? Raise our son together? Perhaps provide him siblings someday?" Tears streamed down her face. "That's not a traditional proposal. We're not a traditional couple. We never have been." He slipped the ring onto her finger, adding to the collection of commitments already there. "But I love you more than I thought possible to love anyone more than I knew how to love until you taught me. State yes. State you'll retain me." "Yes, naturally. Yes. Always. Yes." She pulled him into a kiss that tasted like commitment. "And forever and everything they'd survived. I'll always select you. In every lifetime, I'd select you." Behind them, Elijah placed a small sound in his sleep as if blessing their union, and they both laughed through their tears. A year later, they renewed their vows in an appropriate ceremony. Not the forced marriage orchestrated by his mother's fabrications and manipulation, but a legitimate wedding with legitimate love and legitimate commitment. They invited everyone who mattered, companions who'd supported them, business partners who'd become companions, and notably absent, Minho's mother. She'd attempted to reconcile, to apologize, but Minho had been firm. Forgiveness would take time, if it came at all. Zara wore a dress she'd designed herself. Elegant white lace that showcased her curves with traditional West African patterns embroidered in gold thread. A fusion of both her worlds. Minho wore a traditional Korean hanbok in deep blue. Appearing regal and impossibly handsome, every inch the powerful man he was with softness reserved solely for his family. Elijah, now 1 year old, toddled between them during the ceremony in a matching hanbok, making everyone laugh when he attempted to seize the rings and babbled loudly during the vows. The officiant smiled indulgently while Minho scooped up his son, holding him while he vocalized his vows. "I was lost before you," he stated, his voice thick with emotion, vocalizing to Zara while their son played with his collar. Empty, violent, progressing through existence without genuinely existing. "You witnessed something in me worth rescuing. You provided me a reason to be superior, to build something beyond destruction. I commit to spend every day of my existence proving I'm worthy of your love. I commit to protect you, cherish you, and select you above everything else. You are my home, Zara, my peace, my everything." Zara's vows were equally emotional, her voice fracturing as she vocalized. "I was discarded, abandoned, and treated like I was worthless. You displayed me I'm priceless. You provided me freedom within safety, love without conditions, and strength when I possessed none remaining. I select you, Minho, not because I'm forced to, but because you're the optimal decision I've ever placed. I commit to love you through every storm, to stand by you, to build an existence with you that honors both our pasts and embraces our future." When they kissed, it tasted like new beginnings, like everything they'd overcome to reach this moment. Elijah clapped his chubby hands between them, and the entire room erupted in laughter and applause. The reception was intimate and joyful. Close companions, trusted associates, Zara's mother, who'd flown in from Chicago, and wept through the entire ceremony. Laughter and music and joy filled the space, so different from the violence and fear that had marked their beginning. "Happy," Minho murmured, dancing with her while his mother held a sleepy Elijah. "Impossibly happy," she touched his face, marveling at how intensely had altered. "You provided me everything I didn't know I required. You provided me a reason to exist instead of just survive." He kissed her softly. "You are my redemption, Zara. My salvation, my home, and I will spend the rest of my existence ensuring you never doubt it." 2 years after their reconciliation, Zara's boutique had expanded to 3 locations across Seoul. She'd become a respected name in Korean fashion, known for inclusive designs and ethical practices. Her success was her own, built on talent and vision, though Minho's support had certainly assisted. Elijah was a thriving toddler, vocalizing both Korean and English fluently. Absolutely adored by his father, who spoiled him shamelessly. Despite Zara's protests, he possessed Minho's determination and Zara's creativity, already displaying signs of the strong man he'd become. Minho had successfully transitioned his empire to a completely legitimate business. The transformation had acquired longer than expected, but he'd executed it. Real estate development, technology investments, import-export companies, all legal, all successful, all clean. The violence of his past had faded into recollection, replaced by boardrooms and business deals. But the protective intensity never faded. He still possessed security follow Zara and Elijah everywhere. Still ensured they desired for nothing. Still regarded at his wife like she was the sole woman in existence. One evening, after positioning Elijah to bed, they sat on their balcony overlooking Seoul. The city glittered beneath them, full of possibility and commitment. Zara leaned against his shoulder, content in a manner she'd never imagined possible. "I've been thinking," she stated cautiously. "Dangerous." But he smiled, pulling her closer. "Elijah requires a sibling. He's obtaining lonely, and I think." She rotated to observe his face. "I'm expecting 10 weeks. He went absolutely still, then pulled her onto his lap with cautious excitement. "When did you discover?" "Last week. I desired to be certain before I informed you. Desired to wait until we were isolated." She observed his face transform. "Are you happy?" Happy doesn't initiate to cover it. His hand discovered her still flat stomach with reverent wonder. Another infant, another chance to execute everything correctly from the beginning, to be present for every moment. His eyes grew suspiciously bright. "You've provided me everything, Zara. Absolutely everything. You provided me just as intensely. You rescued me when I thought I was worthless. You loved me when I thought I was unlovable. You built me an existence I didn't dare dream of. We built it together." He kissed her softly, tasting like commitment and forever. And will retain building. Our family, our future, our forever. However many children you'll provide me, whatever dreams you desire to chase, wherever existence takes us, we'll execute it together. 9 months later, Zara provided birth to their daughter at sunrise. The labor was easier this time, faster, and Miho was calmer, though no reduced emotional when their daughter emerged screaming healthily. A girl, the doctor announced with a smile. Healthy and strong. Quality lungs on this one. Miho stared at his daughter with the same wonder he displayed with Elijah, tears streaming down his face unashamedly. The infant possessed Zara's eyes and fuller features. Miho's bone structure. Another perfect blend of their love. They named her Amara Jiwoo Kang. Amara meaning eternal in Igbo. Jiwoo signifying ambition and house in Korean. A name that honored both their cultures, both their worlds. When they brought her home, 3-year-old Elijah was fascinated and slightly jealous of his infant sister. He touched her with exaggerated tenderness, copying his father's cautiousness, already protective, despite his initial skepticism. Infant, he stated in Korean, then English, poking her tiny hand cautiously. My infant sister, our infant, Miho corrected tenderly, sitting on the floor with both children. You're the big brother now. That's an important position. You possess to assist protect her. Teach her circumstances. Display her how to be strong like you. Elijah nodded seriously, his face scrunched in concentration, already acquiring his role seriously. I protect the infant like you. Protect mommy. Miho's eyes encountered Zara's over their children's heads, and the love there acquired her breath away even after all this time. That night, with both children finally unconscious, they collapsed into bed, exhausted, but content. 2 kids. Zara murmured. We possess 2 kids. When did we become responsible adults? I'm not certain we executed. We're just genuinely quality at pretending. He pulled her close, mindful of her still healing body. But seriously, gratitude for our family, for providing me an existence worth existing. Gratitude for discovering me again, for not relinquishing, for loving me enough to battle for us. They held each other in the darkness, 2 individuals who'd been fractured and forced apart, who'd built something stunning from the ashes of manipulation and fabrications. 5 years after Miho walked into that restaurant and discovered his expecting ex-wife serving tables, they celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary, counting from their original forced ceremony because, as Miho stated, every moment counted, even the agonizing ones. Their penthouse was full of controlled chaos and constant joy. Elijah, now 8, was already acquiring martial arts classes after school, following in his father's footsteps. Amara, now 5, was quiet and observant, already displaying signs of her mother's artistic mind. And their youngest, 3-year-old Noah, was pure energy and determination, retaining everyone on their toes. 3 kids, Zara stated, observing Miho referee a pillow combat while attempting to respond work emails. We possess 3 kids. How did that transpire? You're extremely stunning, and I possess no self-control around you, he called back, ducking a flying pillow. Also, we're apparently extremely fertile as a couple. She laughed, the sound filling their home with warmth. The boutique had expanded internationally with locations in New York, London, and Lagos. Miho's business empire was thriving and completely legitimate. They'd built something remarkable together. Do you ever regret it? Miho inquired later that night after the children were finally unconscious. If you could return and avoid all the agony, the forced marriage, the fabrications, the separation, the fear, would you? Zara considered it seriously. The manipulation by his mother. The divorce founded on fabrications. The 7 months isolated and expecting, laboring herself to exhaustion. The kidnapping that still sometimes haunted her dreams. All the struggle and agony and fear. No, she stated finally, definitely. Because all of it led here, to us, to our family, to this existence. I'd walk through fire to arrive to this moment. So would I. He pulled her closer on their balcony, overlooking the city that had witnessed their entire story. You're my miracle, Zara. The impossible circumstance that rescued me from becoming a monster completely. And you're mine, my dangerous man who turned out to be my fairy tale. She kissed him as Seoul sparkled beyond their windows. My forever. They stood together as the city lights twinkled. Below, two individuals who'd been fractured and forced together by fabrications, who'd discovered a love that conquered everything thrown at them. From adversaries to strangers to lovers to adversaries again to soulmates, their journey had been anything but simple. But it had been theirs, and it had been worth every agonizing step. 10 years later, Minho and Zara stood in their boutique's flagship store, now a fashion empire spanning multiple countries. Photographs line the walls of their journey. Zara expecting in her server uniform, their vow renewal, their children's births, and family moments captured throughout the years. This evening was special, an anniversary celebration and boutique expansion announcement. Their 3 children played nearby under the observant eyes of security that would always be necessary provided their fathers passed. "Can you accept it's been 10 years? Zara inquired, staring at that first photograph. The one Minho's security had acquired of her in the restaurant uniform the evening everything altered. Optimal 10 years of my existence, even counting the terrible beginning. Minho wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, his chin on her shoulder. You created me a superior man, created me desire to be superior. You created me accept I merited superior, that I was worth battling for. She rotated in his arms, witnessing the love that had solely deepened with time. We rescued each other. We executed. He kissed her softly. And we'll retain rescuing each other. Every day. That's what family executes. Their children burst into the boutique. Then Elijah elegant at 13, Amara thoughtful at 10, Noah energetic at 8, full of existence and demands for supper. Minho scooped up Noah while Zara corralled the older 2, and they headed out into Seoul's night as a family. They were no longer the individuals someone had manipulated into separation. They were no longer the desperate souls searching for each other in the darkness. They were whole. They were healed. They were home. And it had all initiated in a restaurant with an expecting ex-wife serving tables and a crime boss who'd never ceased loving her. Their story had initiated with agony and manipulation and forced separation, but it concluded with forever.